When she walked past me that evening, her perfume brushing the air, her eyes pretending not to see me, I realized that some wounds don't need words to reopen. It was my daughter's wedding day, the kind of day I'd dreamed of since she was a little girl, running around the house in my heels, pretending she was a bride. The light shimmered across the hall, soft music played, and laughter floated everywhere, except near me. I stood by the corner table, clutching a half-empty glass of water, pretending to be busy adjusting my dupatta. She was right there, Farah, my cousin. The same cousin who once swore we'd be sisters forever. The same woman who held my hand through the hardest years of my life. And now, she couldn't even look me in the eye. I don't know what hurt more, her silence or the fact that everyone else noticed it. My sister-in-law glanced between us, whispering something to her husband. My brother tried to lighten the moment, making jokes about the bride's side being too emotional. But beneath all of it, I could feel the tension swirling like smoke. I told myself it didn't matter. It's my daughter's day. Don't ruin it. But no matter how many times I smiled for photos or hugged relatives, my eyes kept drifting toward her, the woman who had once been my best friend, my confidant, my sister in all but name. She laughed, she danced, she greeted everyone. Everyone but me. And for reasons I still don't fully understand, that hurt more than anything I'd felt in years. Normal life or setup. A few months before the wedding, life had felt peaceful, almost simple. I'd spent most of my time helping my daughter Aisha plan every detail, from her dress to the flowers. She was marrying a kind young man named Hassan, someone who reminded me a lot of my late husband, calm and patient. Our home had been alive again. Laughter, colors, the smell of mendi, trays of sweets stacked on the kitchen counter. After years of loneliness, I finally felt surrounded by love. I would wake up early, make tea, and scroll through wedding checklists with Aisha. Sometimes we'd argue over silly things, like whether the bridesmaids should wear mint or peach. But I loved every minute of it. And through all of it, I imagined sharing this journey with Farah. Farah and I had been inseparable once. We grew up together. Our house is just a street apart. She was the loud, confident one. I was quieter, the one who listened. She helped me through my husband's passing, sat by my hospital bed when I fainted during the funeral, even helped raise Aisha when I was too broken to function. For years, she was family. More than family. That's why when I first noticed her becoming distant, I brushed it off. It started subtly. She'd miss a call here and there. She'd reply to my messages days later. Then, one in the afternoon, while I was showing her pictures of Aisha's engagement dress, she just changed. Her smile faded mid-sentence. She said she had to go, and after that, she stopped coming around altogether. At first, I blamed myself. Maybe I'd said something wrong? Maybe she was going through something personal. I waited for her to explain, but weeks passed and nothing came. Even when I sent her the wedding invitation, handwritten, with her name carefully inked, she didn't respond. Not even a thank you. So when she walked into the wedding hall that night, dazzling in her silver sari, my heart betrayed me. It leapt with hope. I thought, maybe she's here to make things right. But when her eyes met mine across the hall, she looked through me as if I didn't exist. I tried to stay calm, to hide the tremor in my hands as I adjusted my shawl. Aisha was glowing beside Hassan, the picture of happiness. I didn't want to taint her day with my emotions. So I smiled. I smiled until my cheeks hurt. I hugged guests, thanked caterers, nodded to photographers, all the while pretending that my heart wasn't cracking with every glance toward the woman who used to be my sister. It's strange how silence can feel louder than a scream. I caught snippets of conversation around the tables. Did you see how Farah just walked past her? They used to be so close. I wonder what happened. Every whisper sliced through me like glass. But I said nothing. I just stood there, sipping my now cold tea, pretending not to notice the pity in people's eyes. Then, somewhere between the speeches and the cake cutting, something unexpected happened. Something that would change the entire night. A man I'd never seen before walked up to me. Tall, neatly dressed, probably in his 50s. He smiled kindly, like someone who'd been observing from afar. "Excuse me," he said softly. "Are you Aisha's mother?" I nodded, startled. "Yes, I am." He looked at me for a long moment, then at Farah across the hall. I couldn't help but notice it seems someone is pretending not to see someone they once loved very much. My breath caught in my throat. Who, who are you?" I whispered. He smiled faintly. "Just someone who knows what regret looks like." And before I could reply, he walked away, straight toward Farah. That was the moment everything started to unravel. I stood frozen for a moment, watching the man cross the hall toward Farah. The crowd around him shifted, waiters carrying trays, guests moving for photos, but he moved with a calm certainty, like he knew exactly what he was about to do. Farah was laughing with a group of women when he reached her. I saw her face change instantly. Her smile stiffened, her eyes widened for a second, and her hand, holding the clutch, trembled slightly before she hid it behind her back. He said something, I couldn't hear what, not over the music, but her expression faltered. She turned her face away, nodded once, then shook her head. I couldn't take my eyes off them. Something about the scene felt off. That man, whoever he was, knew her, and not casually. There was history there. A few seconds later, she excused herself and slipped toward the back of the hall. He followed. My heart started to race. Maybe it was none of my business. Maybe it had nothing to do with me, but my instincts wouldn't let me rest. After all the years of silence, the sudden coldness, the distance, and now this? I told myself not to go. I even took a step back toward Aisha's table. But then I heard my own voice, low and steady in my head. "You deserve to know the truth." So I followed. I slipped behind the partition that led to the side corridor, the one near the kitchen area. The hallway was dimly lit, quiet except for the hum of a fridge and faint music echoing from the hall. And that's when I heard them. "You shouldn't have come here," Farah's voice hissed, trembling. "I told you, it wasn't my choice to be silent all these years. You made it that way." My breath caught. "You don't understand," she said, her tone breaking. "If she finds out—" "She already suspects something," he interrupted. "She already suspects something," he interrupted. I pressed my back against the wall, my palms sweating. Who were they talking about? The "she" had to be me. Farah's voice softened, almost pleading. "Please, not tonight. It's her daughter's wedding. Don't make a scene." "I'm not here to make a scene," he said. "But don't you think she deserves to know that the person she trusted most betrayed her in the worst way?" The words struck like thunder. I felt my knees weaken. Betrayed her? I covered my mouth to stop myself from gasping. Then there was silence. Heavy, sharp silence, before footsteps echoed closer. I panicked, stepping back just as Farah turned the corner. She saw me. For a brief second, our eyes met, hers wide with shock, mine with hurt and confusion. "Were you listening?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. I didn't answer. I couldn't. She took a shaky breath, tried to force a smile. "You shouldn't be here. You'll miss the couple's photo session." Her words were hollow, her eyes darting behind me. "I just came to checking you. You looked upset." She nodded too quickly. "I'm fine." Then she walked away. Hurried, unsteady, almost like she was escaping something. The man didn't come out again. I stood there for a long time, heart pounding, replaying every word I'd heard. Betrayal, regret, secrets. And suddenly, all the small things I'd ignored for months began to make sense. The awkward silences, the cold glances, the way Farah's voice always trembled when she said Aisha's name. When I returned to the main hall, the music was louder, the laughter brighter. Aisha was on the stage, cutting the cake with Hassan. Everyone was cheering. But I felt detached, as if I were watching from underwater. Farah stood near the buffet table, pretending to be busy fixing her sari. The man was nowhere to be seen. I tried to focus on my daughter's happiness, on her glowing face and the sparkle in her eyes, but the unease wouldn't fade. What could Farah have possibly done to betray me? That night, after everyone left and the hall emptied into silence, I found myself standing by the stage, looking at the leftover petals scattered on the floor. The air smelled faintly of roses and candle wax. I picked up a single white petal, rubbed it between my fingers, and whispered to myself, "Whatever this is, I'll find out." That night, after everyone had gone home, I couldn't sleep. The laughter from the wedding still echoed faintly in my ears, but it felt distant, like it belonged to another world. I lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling fan spinning in slow, lazy circles. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Farah's face, the panic in her eyes, the guilt in her trembling hands, and that man's voice. "She deserves to know." Know what? By morning, I'd made up my mind. I needed answers. The next day, the house was filled with post-wedding chaos. Relatives dropped by to congratulate me, neighbors sent sweets, Aisha and Hassan came for breakfast before leaving for their honeymoon. I smiled, laughed, played the gracious host. But inside, my thoughts churned like a storm. When Aisha finally hugged me goodbye, her henna-stained hands wrapping around mine, she whispered, "Ami, thank you for everything. You made my dreams come true." I managed to smile. "Always, beta. Always." But the moment their car disappeared down the street, my mask slipped. I picked up my phone and stared at Farah's name in my contacts list. My thumb hovered over the call button for a long time before I pressed it. She didn't answer. I tried again. Still nothing. So I sent her a message. "We need to talk. Please come by. Just once. For old time's sake." Then I waited. Hours passed. The afternoon light stretched long across the living room floor. I made tea, poured it, and let it go cold. Just when I was about to give up, my doorbell rang. When I opened it, Farah stood there. She looked tired, her eyes puffy, her lipstick faded, but what startled me most was her expression. It wasn't anger. It was fear. She said, "I got your message. Come in." We sat across from each other at the dining table, the same table where we'd shared countless meals, secrets, and tears. But now, the silence between us was heavy and brittle. I didn't waste time. "Who was that man?" She froze. Her fingers clenched around the edge of her shawl. "You saw us?" "I did. And I heard you." My voice shook, but I kept it steady. "You said, 'If I find out,' and he said, 'You betrayed me.' What did he mean, Farah?" She looked down, her voice breaking. "Please, it's not what you think." "Then tell me what it is." She hesitated for a long time before whispering, "That man, his name is Imran. The name hit me like a stone. Imran? I repeated. My husband's friend Imran? She nodded, weakly. Yes, the same one who helped you after his death, the one who handled the property papers for you. I blinked in disbelief. What does he have to do with this? Tears filled her eyes. Everything. She took a shaky breath and finally looked at me. You remember when your husband passed away? How you thought the insurance claim took longer than expected? Yes. It wasn't the company's delay. It was me. My stomach turned cold. What? I took the file from Imran before it was processed. I said I'd deliver it to you myself. But instead, Her voice cracked. I changed the bank details. The first installment, the one that was supposed to go to your account, went to mine. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. You stole from me, I whispered. Tears streamed down her face. I didn't plan to, I swear. My husband had just lost his job. We had bills, the kids' school fees. I told myself I'd return it within a month. But then things kept getting worse, and I couldn't bring myself to tell you. My heart felt like it had been wrenched from my chest. All those years, I said slowly, you watched me struggle. You watched me skip meals so Aisha could eat, and you said nothing? She covered her face with her hands. I hated myself every day. I tried to avoid you because I couldn't bear the guilt. I even came to the wedding thinking I could apologize. But when I saw you, so happy, so radiant, I couldn't do it. I felt dizzy. Betrayal has a taste, metallic, sharp, like blood on the tongue. I stood up, unable to sit still. How could you, Farah? You were like my sister. I know, she sobbed, and I ruined everything. I didn't deserve your forgiveness. That's why I stayed away. I turned toward the window, blinking back tears. Outside, children were playing cricket in the street, their laughter sharp and distant. The world, it seemed, had kept moving while mine stopped. Then I remembered the man. And Imran. Why was he at the wedding? She hesitated. He found out. He threatened to tell you everything. I begged him not to. He said you deserved to know, but I panicked. I turned back to her. So you lied and then tried to hide behind my husband's friend? She nodded miserably. I'm sorry. The apology hung between us, thin and fragile. For a moment, I wanted to scream, to throw something, to ask why 1,000 times. But all I could do was whisper, "Get out." She looked up, startled. "Please," I said quietly, "leave my house." She stood, trembling. "If I could undo it, I would. I swear I would." I didn't reply. I just turned away, my arms folded tight against my chest. I heard the door open and close, then silence. When she left, I sank to the floor, the tears finally spilling over. All the years of trust, the shared laughter, the sisterhood, all of it had been built on a lie. It wasn't just the money she'd taken. She'd stolen my faith in friendship, my belief that love could survive hardship. But even as I cried, one question echoed louder than my sobs. Why did Imran come back now? Because something told me Farah's betrayal was only part of the truth. The next morning, the house felt colder. Even the sunlight that usually poured through the curtains seemed dull, grayish. I hadn't slept. My eyes were swollen, and the ache in my chest hadn't eased since Farah's confession. I sat at the dining table, the same one where she'd sat yesterday, staring at the untouched cup of tea in front of me. I couldn't shake her words. I changed the bank details. I hated myself every day. How easily guilt sounds like sympathy when it's too late. For years, I'd struggled. I'd begged the insurance company, written letters, signed papers, thinking it was bureaucracy. But it was her, all along. And then there was Imran, the man who had always been distant, polite, and yet somehow still protective after my husband's death. He had moved abroad years ago. Why did he suddenly appear at the wedding? After all this time? I needed to know. I went to the kitchen, washed my face, and made a decision I never thought I'd make. I was going to find him. That afternoon, I called the old number I still had for him. It didn't connect. Then I tried another, the one listed in my late husband's old diary. To my surprise, someone answered. Hello? The voice was calm, deep, familiar. Imran? A pause. Who is this? It's me, Sadia. There was another pause, this one longer. Then, softly, Sadia, I was hoping you'd call. The way he said my name, quiet, heavy, sent a strange chill through me. I need to talk to you, I said. It's about Farah, about what happened. He replied, I know. Meet me at the park near the old community center. 5 o'clock? I hesitated, then agreed. When I reached the park, the winter sun was dipping low, painting everything in gold. Imran was sitting on a bench under the banyan tree, just like he used to when he and my husband would spend evenings talking about business and life. He stood when he saw me, his face lined with years, but his eyes still kind. I wasn't sure you'd come, he said. I almost did it. But you showed up at my daughter's wedding. You must have had a reason. He nodded slowly. I did. You deserve to know everything. I folded my arms. Farah already told me what she did, that she stole from me, that she used your name to cover it. Imran sighed, looking out at the children playing nearby. She told you part of it, yes, but not all. My pulse quickened. What else? He turned toward me, his expression full of quiet sorrow. She didn't act alone. What? He nodded. Your husband's brother, Rashid. He helped her. For a second, I thought I'd misheard. Rashid? Yes. The claim papers were in his office. He was supposed to deliver them to me, but instead, he handed them to Farah. He was the one who suggested changing the account details. He got a share of the money. I felt my knees weaken. Rashid, the man who used to call every month to check on me, the man who said he wished he could do more for his brother's widow, had been part of it too? Why are you telling me this now? I asked, my voice trembling. Imran sighed deeply. Because I couldn't live with the guilt anymore. I was supposed to oversee the process, but when I found out what they'd done, I didn't confront them. I stayed silent. I told myself it wasn't my fight. He looked down. But it was. I failed your husband. I failed you. For a long moment, I couldn't speak. The betrayal had just doubled, and from family, no less. How much was it? I finally asked. About 800,000 rupees, he said quietly. Not a fortune, but enough to change your life back then. I laughed bitterly. Enough to pay my daughter's school fees. Enough to fix the leaking roof I cried under for years. He nodded. I know. That's why I came back. I wanted to return what I could. From his coat pocket, he took out an envelope. Inside were documents and a bank draft. I sold a small piece of land my father left me. It's not the same money, but it's something. For your daughter's future. Tears burned behind my eyes. You don't owe me this. He shook his head. I do. Because when a good person suffers while everyone else looks away, that's a debt on all of us. I couldn't hold it in anymore. I covered my face and wept. He didn't move closer, didn't try to comfort me. He just stood there, silent, letting me have the dignity of my tears. When I finally looked up, I said, "Does Rashid know you told me?" "No," he said, "but he will, and so will Farah. They need to face what they've done, not for revenge, but for truth." I nodded slowly. Then let them face it. That night, I made another decision. I invited Rashid and Farah to my house under the pretense of discussing Aisha's wedding thank you gathering. I wanted them both in the same room to see the truth laid bare. When they arrived, they sat uneasily, exchanging glances. I didn't bother with small talk. I placed the envelope on the table. "Imran came to see me," I said quietly. The color drained from Rashid's face. Farah's eyes widened. I slid the papers toward them. "Imran told me everything. Every rupee, every lie." Rashid's voice broke first. "Sadia, listen." "No," I cut him off. "You listened when I cried about unpaid bills. You listened when I begged for help, pretending to be sympathetic. Now it's my turn to listen. To your excuses." Farah began to sob, whispering, "Please don't tell anyone." "I won't have to, because you will." They looked at me, confused. "I want you both to come tomorrow," I said coldly, "to Aisha's Valima gathering, and I want you to tell the family what you did." Rashid's voice rose. "Are you mad? Do you want to humiliate us?" I looked him straight in the eye. "No, I want the truth. You've hidden in lies long enough." Farah shook her head desperately. "Sadia, please, I'll return the money." "This isn't about money. It's about respect, about the peace you stole from me." They both sat there, pale and silent, realizing there was no escape. "Tomorrow, the truth will finally come out, in front of everyone." And for the first time in years, I felt something close to strength. The wedding was over. The laughter, the music, the clinking of glasses, all of it faded into silence as the night deepened. And somewhere between the fading sound of heels and the hum of tired voices, I realized how empty my heart still felt. I smiled for the pictures. I danced. I had said, "I do." But inside, a small, fragile part of me still whispered, "Why didn't she look at me?" After everyone left, I went upstairs to change out of my wedding dress. It was heavy, not just with lace and pearls, but with everything I had carried for years. The unspoken words, the quiet disappointments, the longing to be seen by the one woman who had given me life. When I came downstairs, she was still there. My mother. Sitting on the sofa, her purse in her lap, her eyes red, not from anger, but from something deeper, something I had never seen in her before. "Mom," I said softly. She looked up, startled, like she had been caught doing something wrong. I was just leaving," she whispered, but I shook my head. "Not yet." She hesitated. Her fingers tightened on her purse strap. And for the first time in years, there was no coldness in her face, only exhaustion. "Why didn't you look at me today?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Why couldn't you be happy for me?" She stared at the floor. You looked just like me when I got married." That made me pause, because I had never seen her wedding pictures. She had never talked about that day. She took a deep breath, her voice barely a whisper. "When I walked down the aisle, I thought I was marrying love, but I was walking toward heartbreak. Your father left 2 months later, and every time I saw you in that dress, smiling, radiant, I saw the girl I once was, the one I never forgave myself for being. Her words broke something open in me. All this time, I thought she ignored me because she didn't care. But she had been drowning in her own past, her own unhealed pain. I sat beside her. We didn't speak for a long time. The silence was thick, but it wasn't angry anymore. It was the silence of two women who finally understood each other. "I missed you, Mom," I whispered. She turned to me, her face wet with tears. "I missed you too, sweetheart. I just didn't know how to come back." I took her hand, and for the first time in years, she didn't pull away. We sat there, mother and daughter, holding hands under the soft glow of the wedding lights. Outside, the wind rustled the decorations still hanging in the garden, like the world itself was exhaling. I realized then that forgiveness isn't a grand gesture. It's a quiet surrender. It's sitting beside the person who broke your heart and saying, "I still choose to love you." She smiled through her tears. "He would have been proud of you, you know?" I didn't ask who she meant. I just leaned against her shoulder, the same shoulder I used to rest on as a child, and in that moment, I didn't feel like the bride who had been ignored. I felt like the daughter who had finally come home.